Whatever other shit, different form factors. You work on web and mobile. You have like agile projects are incremental, iterative, and focus on value.
Value for the customer.
We do not focus on value.
Why?
We build whatever the fuck we want. It's really hard to like put a value against all the shit that we do.
Well, it's value for the customer, right?
Tries to prioritize things, but I think they suck at it.
Okay.
Yeah. Like you need to value something. Like what has value?
Value for the customer. So it's like
okay, what's valuable for the customer?
So easier user experience, for example, or I don't know, get a right credit card decision, or.
But there's like 50 things you can do that lead to a better experience. So then which one is right? And then what are you focusing on? How do you determine what's right? It's just I don't know. It's
ambiguous.
Yes.
Okay.
How is the team organized? Okay, so we have a front end team, a middleware team, and a back end team for all of my products. And they sometimes the front end teams do a little middleware. The back end teams usually just focus on back end shit. Then we'll have a product owner.
And middleware is what? Like services connecting front end and back end?
Yeah, middleware. Mm-hmm.
So
it's kind of like intermediate logic. So it's not like the database. It's like
services.
Something that fetches from the database and
API.
Usually speed. Like a lot of the databases are really old, so it'll do batch processes to speed it up, or it'll format the data so the front end can take it.
Okay. APIs mainly, or what?
Yeah, exactly. APIs.
Okay.
Then there's we have a product owner. We have an agility lead who's I don't know.
So wait. Also, sorry, my question from the first question. So you said you have three. That's okay. The structure, like front end, middleware, and back end. But how about developers, designers? How is that structure? My question is more to understand. It seems from what I read in the courses that it's all together. So developers, designers are all the same thing, at the same team, as well as the project manager or product owner or whatever.
Yeah.
But how I used to work in Santander, it was not like that. Like the designers were part of quality. Designer means like you can say website design, for example, no? So the front end basically, no? We had
except if you design something that requires the back end to update, then it's a back end's problem.
So in the waterfall methodology that we used to do, it was like a waterfall, and then we started with the front end, then we went to quality. We check with quality, we got approval from work quality for those screens, and then we continued. Architecture was always at the middle also, and at the beginning, system architecture, but those were external teams, not part of, we didn't have, in fact, that even the developers was another external team for me. I send them the requirements and they give me back the shit. I don't do sprint, I don't work with them in my team. I didn't used to. So I don't know how this works now, if it's all together.
Yeah, we have, the way it kind of shakes out at Chase is there's the front end, there's sort of a product owner, a dev team of 7 people, and then a designer like me, or someone who works for me, supported by me. And those people are talking all the time. And that's sort of they call it a quad. Quad being data and analytics, product, design, and tech.
Quad.
Yeah.
That,
It used to be triad, which is design, tech, and product. But then they added analytics. So the analytics folks just look at analytics.
how do you spell it?
Analytics.
Quad.
Like analytics.
Shut up.
ANALYTI. Let me describe it to you in terms you'll understand.
The quad. You said quad.
Quad, like QUAD.
But
Like quadricopter.
like what?
Like quadricopter.
Mm-hmm.
You know those things that
But does it stand for anything?
when you're hiking. Quad, it stands for 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cuatro.
It's 4 groups.
Cuatro.
Yes. D.
Okay, so still don't understand how they all work together. Like, how do you do all the? So there's no more architecture team. There's no more designer team. I mean, quality assurance team.
Yeah, there are architects, but they're kind of a part of tech. There is Q. We don't do that much QA anymore, but we used to have a guy, and he was a part of tech.
So it's like one person from each group, and they all do or something like that, or more developers. Like
Yeah, I mean, it's usually like a dev lead, a product lead, and then just a design lead and a data lead.
all leads.
And then typically like product goes out and gets the funding. So they go and they fight with, finance and other product owners to get funding and money for their project. And then they're like, okay, here's a project, let's all define it. So then they work with design and development to come up with the design, right? And the design team will go and interview.
Wait. Start from the beginning. So first is who, like the sponsor, no, says I want to do this, no, like business or governance says we need to do this new functionality, no, and then the product owner receives the request and then goes and checks for the budget, like or the cost, like how much it's gonna cost, and then they go to finance and ask for the budget. Like how does that work?
So product owners. So it depends on the project. Product owners are kind of like little CEOs. Like they usually own the profit and loss for their groups. I mean, maybe not profit and loss, but they own like they come up with the projects. Like usually in my group anyway, executives don't really come up with projects. Like they kind of say yes or no to projects. But the product team and the design team kind of invent projects. Or, they look at what they're doing and they're like, okay, for this year we want to do this, for next year we want to do that, and this is how we're going to get there, this is why we think it's important, and then they go to executives to get that kind of signed off. So it's less about having an executive tell you and more about going out and getting the funding.
Whoa, that sounds so weird. So basically, the product owners.
In a flat organization, in a less hierarchical organization, you want the people who are close to the work determining how it runs.
Yeah, but you work in a huge bank, so that's weird that the bottom people come up with or decide what to do.
Well, they're not. It's more federated. It's like a federated structure. So each group has a certain amount of power within that group, and then they own their own destiny, and the other groups hold them accountable. So like my group is the funding group, so we do everything with transfers. If it becomes part of a trade, it's not our job. If it's part of account opening, it's not our job. But then like we're looking at developing new ways to transfer and faster transfers and changing the transfer form, and then we kind of determine the future for that.
Mm. Well.
Yeah. So, for example, we have like all our pages are web-based. We wanted to have native code because it runs faster. So I worked with my product owner to value how much more money a native transfer flow would bring in.
Okay, and how do you?
And then finance approved headcount in India to have a native team.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
That's an example of a project, right? And
yeah.
So basically, you and the product owner are the ones who the sponsor. Well, not the sponsor. Well, kind of, no.
Well, yeah, we're not really the sponsors, but we came up with the project, and then someone else kind of signed off on
it. Okay. And how do you do the analysis? Like you just ask so you ask architecture, you ask.
I worked with analytics people, and they actually did a lot of the analysis. I did some of the analysis, but they did a lot of the analysis. I kind of like my product owner was like, give them a little nudge, and then they went and they pulled they have all these like models, like super fancy models, so they know how much cash people hold and how much money we make on the cash, and they figured out that like if we had a little bit better conversion, it would be worth like $100 million in per year.
And what do you use, like Tableau or something like that for like?
They used Excel.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that fancy. I mean, we have Tableau databases that they pull the data from, but to do the actual like analysis, I think it was just like VBA in Excel.
Okay. Awesome. That's nice insight. Okay, so more or less, I think I get it. I don't think Santander will work this way. I want to check with my friend, but yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. We probably are better than them.
Yeah.
I mean, we spend like $17 billion a year on technology, so I doubt that
okay, so do you always have okay, and the type of, well, let's go one by one. I don't know if I asked later. Well, I'll ask you now. Do you do like Scrum? You said you use both Scrum and Kanban, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do. So the dev teams all have their own like daily stand-ups.
Okay, but that's wait. So I think all my questions are like together because that's the last question I have with the table. Like, do you do all that? That is the typical the Scrum meetings?
Yes, totally.
Every day?
No. So you do a sprint planning at the start of the sprint. Then you do
4 hours.
Yeah, it's not 4 hours. It's usually like an hour, sometimes 45 minutes.
Okay.
Then you do. So they usually do like a sprint planning and then a sprint grooming. So like they talk about things that they want to include, and then the product owners kind of figure out like, okay, what what additional detail does the development team need to work on this, and then they there's a separate meeting where they like estimate points for it, which I guess is like the.
And then they do a separate meeting, you say, to estimate
planning
points?
is actually 2 meetings. Yeah.
In spring grooming, was spring grooming?
So the sprint, I think, like, so we do 2 1-hour meetings.
Mm-hmm.
One that we sort of call the planning, and one that we call the grooming. And they're usually like a couple days apart, so that people can kind of like take the learnings from one and apply it in another. Yeah. But I mean, the thing you have there looks. I mean, that's fine. I think that's just both of them. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like I have no experience, so I want to understand really what you're doing. Like, so you have 2 meetings at the beginning, 2 1-hour meetings at the beginning of the sprint, where you say, okay,
the sprint starts.
and then the team, the designers and developers say we need, we're gonna in this sprint they decide which work they're gonna go, right? So we're gonna do, I don't know, the let's say, I don't know, the onboarding screen in this sprint.
Yeah.
And then they decide like we need these fields in this section, blah 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 blah. And this creating the screen is gonna take you're talking story points, right? So
yeah. So usually the first meeting is like they look at the designs and they're like, okay, these are the designs for this flow, and the developers will be like, oh, that part can't be built, and then the design team will be like, okay, we'll go fix it, and then in the second meeting they're like, okay, we're building this page. All right, how many points is this component on this page? How many points is that component on this page? And then the team sort of figures out how many, like they have a burn rate. So they'll be like, okay, we're going to take in 50 points this sprint. And then
a point is 1 hour or what?
That's a whole nother thing. So a point is unique to each team, and it's done in a Fibonacci.
Okay.
So it's like 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 11, and basically it's supposed to be a way for people to estimate complexity.
Mm-hmm.
So, but because it's just estimating complexity, it's not straight up time, because like a really talented developer could do it really quickly, and then like a more junior developer might take longer.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like a junior developer might take an 8-point story and take 2 weeks on it, but then a really good developer might take an 8-point story and do it in 2 days. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you estimate. So what the theory behind it is that you estimate the relative effort of all these things every sprint, and then over time you get what's called a burn rate, which is basically how much your team can build every sprint. So like over time it'll be like, oh, we can do like 50 points per sprint, and then a point is just like, it's kind of like an arbitrary measure of complexity. It's a pretty cool idea.
Okay, so I still have many questions, practical questions with this. So you said there's one so how many developers per team? How many designers? How many?
6 or 7.
Okay.
You should just look up story point estimation and burn rate for a Scrum team.
Okay.
And then you can like study that on your own, because it's kind of abstract, but it's pretty cool.
Um, and how much time, like, so you start with a team, you say at the beginning of the year, and then you keep that team for the rest of the year, and then it evolves?
Yeah, our teams have been there for years. Yeah, teams usually at JP Morgan anyway, they seem to last for a while. Occasionally, I guess they get cut up and stuff, but they're usually in it for the long term.
Okay, sorry, before I forget. So in the meetings that you said before, like the first two meetings, where there's basically one to set goals, no, and the other one to refine them.
Yeah.
Who runs the meetings? The product owner.
Yes.
And what?
So the product owner runs the first one, and then we call them agility leads, but in regular terminology, it might be Scrum Master runs the second one.
Okay, so the Scrum Master, the second one, and
yeah.
And you always get the two figures, the Scrum Master and the product owner?
Yep. I mean, the Scrum Masters are basically just project managers for technology.
And so is the product owner, right? Like the
product owner is more aligned to the business.
Yeah, but I mean the both the project manager roles, no?
No. So a product owner is a little bit it's a little bit closer to an executive.
Yeah, it's more on the business side than on the technical side, but still a project manager. Like it's getting the budget, it's getting
but they're not really project managers because the lower level ones are, but the higher level ones, they don't really manage anyone else's time. they kind of come up with a lot of their time is spent fighting for funding and reporting on what the group does.
Okay.
So they're kind of it's like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs had ideas, and he wasn't a designer or a developer, but he would torture people until they built his ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. More or less. I guess until I don't work on it, I won't understand fully. But more or less, I think I understand.
Yeah. I would look up product management, and maybe in Santander they don't really have that. I think there's different shops run super differently, so you might not be able to just take whatever I know and apply it to because it sounds like you're interviewing at Santander and you want that, you want to know how it works there, but talking to me might not help you.
I know. But that also is if I'm going to put in my CV that I have experience in Jira, so I want to make real something credible. make up some shit. But anyway, maybe let's go through the questions real quick, and that's it.
Okay.
So who's the product owner? Blah, blah, blah. Is the Scrum Master the only one to configure the project? But this is more about Jira.
No, our product owners do a lot. Our product owners and our Scrum Masters both make stories.
Okay.
But yeah, usually it's Epic. There's Epic. I forget what the hierarchy is, but Epics are at the top.
Yeah. Epic stories, and then stories or tasks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Epic story tasks. Yeah. And subtasks.
Yeah.
Sprints range from 1 to 3 weeks, depending on the team for us.
1 to 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some teams run in 3-week sprints, some teams run in 1-week sprints.
Okay. How to group the pro? This is more like who.
But 2 weeks is the most common.
Okay. How to group projects in Jira. So this is more like because I was playing with it. I got like a free account, and I was playing with it, and I don't see how to group projects. For example, in Santander, like we had. We had a lot of sub projects, no? So you're doing a system that calls the credit bureau. So that's a project with the credit risk origination. So it's like projects within projects within projects, right? So I don't know how you can do that in Jira.
Yeah, I mean they change this all the time because it doesn't work for anyone. There's actually an additional tool that they just rolled out that sits on top of Jira that's supposed to be more like roadmap items. It's called Jira Align. And that's supposed to be like abstracted, huge work streams instead of just projects.
Okay. Do you use it for ticketing?
Jira Align is more for like the strategy level.
Okay, yeah, I mean, okay.
So like cash transfers, check deposits, so your credit risk tool would be like a roadmap item.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm also gonna have to sleep soon.
Okay. No worries.
Yeah. It's like kind of wait over here and.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you be then.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Hope it was helpful.
No, let's talk. I wanted to talk about something else. Really, I didn't want to use you to do this. Actually, I wanted to see how you were and all that shit.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm happy to chat over the next couple of days and talk about it. But yeah, tonight I'm tapped out. We just went and stuff. So.
Of course. Give my regards to Jesse and congratulations.
Okay. Sure. Miguel says he loves you. Yes, he says hi, Miguel.
I added her on Instagram, I think.
Oh, he added you on Instagram. You should follow him back.
I saw her, found her, and stalked her.
There you go.
You look very handsome on her profile.
Oh. I'm on her profile?
Yeah, a few, not much. Oh, yeah.